Hello Jude, thanks for sitting down with us this morning, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, very well, thank you, very well.
Good man. World Cup, what do you think? You've been watching it?
Yeah, probably too much.
Yeah?
You get a little bit of World Cup fever, don't you, I think?
Yeah,
watching all the games, staying up until later than you should, watching extra time penalties and so on. But yeah, no, it's been really exciting.
What do you think of England's path so far and their journey, coming onto this Saturday? We've got Sweden at home. What do you think our chances are?
Decent, definitely. Well, I mean, not that the FIFA rankings count for much, but obviously higher ranked than Sweden. You'd suggest we've probably got better players than Sweden as well, but in saying that, they're probably quite defensively sound, and we haven't really created that many chances. Other than Panama, who obviously weren't very strong, but we haven't really created a great deal of chances. So you sort of look at that and you're a bit like, well, are we then going to go out and smash them, which people probably think we are?
Yeah.
I don't know, but I'd say the chances are pretty good.
I'd say so. I think the bookies favour us, but obviously, this World Cup, everyone's been beating everyone, so time will tell.
Absolutely.
So let's jump straight into it. Congratulations, current, newly appointed White Hawk first team manager for the upcoming season. How's pre-season going?
All right, to be fair so far. Yeah, it's sort of getting the foundations in place of what we want to try and do and how we want the squad to look, and we're quite. It's really important for us to try and get the main bulk of the squad in and signed ready for the start of pre-season, which was last Tuesday, rather than sort of have trialists going into like the 4th, 5th friendly, which has happened at clubs previously, no less wild. It's happened at the club before, and that's something we want to try and avoid really if we can.
So obviously you bring in quite, I think one player signed remained from last year, is that right?
One player Carl Brown was on contract last year.
Great player. I think he was with England C team.
That's right, so he played right at the back end of last season with the England season, Paul Fairclough there, so he's an excellent player, and look, if he goes on to play higher level, I don't think anyone in Sussex, certainly White fans, I don't think anyone would be surprised really.
No, I agree with you there. Obviously bringing in a whole new team, we'll get onto the recruitment side of things in a minute, but coaching staff, who have you brought in to help you with the job this year?
So Matt Elphick's coming straight up from the under-18s with me, and we've got a chap called Johnny Elwood who's come over from Crowborough, UEFA licensed coach. He's coming over from Crowborough, did a little bit with them last season, and he does a little bit of work with Palace Academy as well, so that'll be our main trio if you like, the heads at the top, and then we'll have a goalkeeping coach coming in as well.
Oh, brilliant, so you've got it all covered. Players you've signed, have you got any, we've seen on Twitter that a lot of signings have been announced in the last few days?
Yeah, we've been quite lucky with some of the players that we've signed, and we've had to use contacts sort of throughout the county. People like Jay Lovett have been brilliant in terms of helping us out and putting us in touch with certain players. Players that we know that can play at the level and have proved they can play at the level previously. That's really important for us, but it's also quite important to go, well, we need to make sure we've got that youth sort of element, mainly because of budget, like a lot of teams in this league.
Sure.
The budget's been cut. I think that's the secret to anyone. So you need to make sure that you've got the right young players in and around the squad, players that you think have the potential to be players in this league, so to speak, to be quality players. And we think we've signed the boys coming up from the youth system, or in the case of Reece Hallard from Worthing, boys who we think can play in this league and we think can do very well.
Definitely, Reece is a great player. I had the pleasure of playing with him last year, and I think it's a great opportunity for him and a lot of youngsters that you're giving them the opportunity to go and play competitive football in the Bostik League this year. So it'll be an exciting season for you at White Hawk.
Let's hope so. Yeah.
How are you finding the transition from obviously under-18s manager last year at White Hawk to now the men's team? Is it a different? Do you have a different outlook on how you take your sessions or how you manage your players? How are you finding that transition?
Yeah, it's very different, obviously, from a point of view of when I was the 18s manager. Generally, the sessions I was doing on my own. Obviously, John Foley came in towards the back end of the season, but generally I was on my own. And so the session, it's just you sort of trying to get everything planned, maybe on half a pitch. And at the moment, it's a little bit different. You've got the full pitch, and you've got other coaches there to help and support you. So we try and keep the intensity very high of the sessions, and that's really, really important. I think you've got to try and constantly put yourself in the mind of a player. With under-18s players, it is a little bit different. They really, really want to be there. They're driving, they're trying to get as high as they possibly can. With the men's football, possibly had work, had other things going on, they've got families.
Yep.
You need to make sure the intensity is high and that they're actually enjoying the sessions, because as soon as you've got 26, 27, 28-year-old getting bored, he's not going to, he doesn't want to be there, and they're key players. So you need to make sure that the sessions are useful and the players are actually getting information, all the information you want to give, but also they've got to have intensity.
No, it's a fair point, I think. I mean, moving on, obviously a lot of people won't know how the job arose over the summer. Can you give a lot of the fans and followers a bit of insight into how?
Yeah, so I was doing the U team for about 5 years, it was 5 seasons in all. So did that, and I think we had quite a bit of success. We were quite lucky with that, and I think from a time perspective, when you're doing a voluntary role for 5 years, whether it's in a charity shop or whether it's with a youth football team, it takes up a lot of your time and a lot of your energy. And I think I got to a point where I was a little bit like, I didn't really know how much more I could give it and get a different outcome to what I was getting, which is obviously really, really important for me personally, to make sure that you've got an outcome constantly. So whether that outcome is them playing first team games or whether it's them winning things or whatever it is, there has to be an outcome, and I didn't really feel I could get a different outcome and keep putting in the same energy.
Sure.
So I stepped aside and I was a bit like, I think I need a little bit of time away.
Did you have anything in place that
No.
you just thought it was my time to leave, that someone else take over?
So. And also let someone else, from my point of view, I felt that I'd put in, with the people that supported me, we had put in the right foundations for whoever took over, which is obviously now Dell, to be able to do what they wanted with it rather than have to build it from the ground up. And then got the call from John Summers, who'd always sort of said to me throughout my 5 years, he'd said, is it something that you'd like to do in the future? And I always thought, well, yeah, of course, but maybe when I'm in my 40s and a bit more experienced. And yeah, got the call. I think I stepped down on the Friday, and then
it was
got
a quick
the call.
turnaround.
And then I don't. Maybe the club weren't expecting. Obviously, Steve did really, really well. Steve King was at the back end of last season.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone can doubt that. Their form was unbelievable at the back end of last season. So he's obviously going to get offers from other clubs. That's what happens. It's football, isn't it? So maybe the club didn't know he was going to get other offers. I don't really know. I don't know the ins and outs of it. I haven't asked. It's not my business.
I think on Twitter, the Whitehawks handle released your departure, and off the back of that, a load of response come in saying, good luck Jude, massive loss sort of thing. Do you think that played a part in you maybe being put in the mix for the first team job?
I suppose from that you'd have to ask John, Ned, Nigel, Steve.
It was a big reaction.
Yeah.
You might not want to say it yourself, but I saw a big reaction on Twitter where people were really gutted that you were leaving the club, and as an outsider, I thought that might have played a part in you maybe getting a nod.
Possibly, it was quite humbling. I didn't really anticipate that. I mean, I didn't really know they were going to do right as much as they did, which was quite nice. Obviously, like I said, very humbling. Some of the responses that sort of parents and players and stuff wrote, you can't really. It's a bit sort of embarrassing to say, isn't it? But yeah, I suppose it could have done, definitely. But I'm not too sure. I'd like to think that you get pulled up on, or called up, so to speak, on your merits rather than social media reaction. But we know what happens with fans, don't we? We know how football works. So yeah, possibly.
Was it? Obviously, you have a good relationship with the club and John Summers. Was it a yes straight away, or was it something that you needed to think about and really assess the situation and figure out if it was right for you?
Well, we'd had a phone call on the Friday when I stepped down from the role, and John and I spoke about the future like he had done many times. So when I went home that evening, I was talking to Matt, my assistant. We were having a chat on the phone, and I just sort of said, look, if it ever came up, and we sort of used to laugh about it, and I think especially in the season when they had so many managers, was that 2016, 2017, we'd sort of always said to ourselves, we've got to prepare that we might have to do one game whilst they look for a new manager.
In transition?
Yeah, just if we have to be a caretaker or whatever, we always said we have to be prepared just to help the club out if they need it. So we'd always had that conversation, but never actually thought too much of it. Mainly because first team football was not really where I saw myself and my strengths. And then, so got the call, and that was it. We were just sort of, I don't think it was much of a long thought out process. I don't think how many other 30-year-olds who have never managed a men's game are going to get a gig like that. It doesn't happen.
Exactly. I think if you were to have said no, you'd have been kicking yourself. But
I agree.
You know, at 18 level, you say we all know you had plenty of success with the cups and the leagues throughout the county. Now you've made that jump up to the men's game, has your philosophy as a coach changed? You know, the brand of football that a Jude Macdonald side plays, has that changed, or is it still a bit of trial and error?
I don't think it can. I think you sell yourself a little bit short, probably. You maybe have to ask a more experienced coach who's also done that transition. But I don't think it can. I think philosophy is a difficult word. It's a word that I don't know if I buy into it, because if you have a philosophy that says I'm going to play out from the back, well, what does that mean? Because if you're 1-0 up in the last minute, you're not going to start knocking it around by your own penalty.
Relative to your position,
absolutely,
and the game.
Exactly. It's relative to you. Have you got any injuries? Have you got have you got your best lineup out? Whatever. There's so many variables in football. It's so difficult to pin yourself. And my feeling with philosophy is you can get pinned in. But I've got values and I've got beliefs and ways of playing. Like I do like a possession-based game because you're more in control. But then that's not to say that you can't be a great counter-attacking side. You know, you look at Man United in the 90s, unbelievable counter-attacking side. But they could keep the ball all day if they wanted to. Yeah. So it's about having that variation to your game, and that's one of the values that I believe in. And I'd like to think that we had within the youth setup, which was, this is the way we like to play. But if we need to mix it, we can mix it. And
well said.
That was the way we liked to do it.
Just touching back onto the the 18s level of football, do you think the current model we have here in the UK with the transition from 18s to first team is working? Do you think we could change it and put in more under 21s, 23s leagues, or do you think players who are deemed ready at 17, 18 years old should just try and play as much men's football, as much football as possible? Are we putting them players in too early sometimes, or are we holding them back?
Some players possibly, and I'll definitely say some players are held back, and also some players hold themselves back.
Okay.
I think it's all individual, isn't it? But listening to coaches would be the most important thing, especially at academy level. Like those coaches who are extremely experienced. They're not going to keep boys in that they think can play football, so they know what they're talking about. That's obviously really important to say. I think a lack of reserve team football does make a difference.
So maybe we need to have a look as an association, as a footballing community, of trying to get these reserve leagues back up and running.
It's difficult. It's such a hard one because you have probably people who watch this will say reserve team level. It was it's
nothing
not
playful.
Yeah, exactly. It's not the right thing. It's not the right way to go. And then you'll have sort of some people saying that it is the right way to go. I can only speak from my experience, which was obviously county level when I was under 18, and you had a successful under 18s where you had probably half the side playing on a Saturday. Playing with reserve league, playing with men, playing with players who weren't in the first team, couldn't get in, playing with players who needed minutes, or come back from injuries, or what have you. And that makes a massive difference because there's too many boys are often too nice to each other under 18s.
Yeah.
And when you actually you see what matters and you understand a little bit about positioning and stuff like that. Having said that, what was the quality like? It was relatively poor. So it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Really,
yes.
I think we were talking previously. We were talking about the size of players. Jesse Lingard's an obvious one, isn't he? Just because he's in the media at the moment. How do you
Are you developed?
Exactly. At 18, can you throw him in against a proper central midfielder? Well, probably not. So I think under 23s is important, but you've got to play games, and you've got to play games that matter, competitive games.
If you were a 17-year-old player right now, what would your footballing schedule look like? Would it be maybe at a college programme during the week with your 18s football during the week? Would you then look to go and play men's football on the weekend? Like there's a lot of youngsters now, Alfie Rogers, George McCarthy's that took the dive into men's football and are sort of reaping the benefits. But absolutely. Like you say, it's not for everyone. It isn't for everyone. But if you could give some advice to young players, what would you say? The perfect
George and Alfie are special cases, aren't they? Because both of them are built like men, and also both of them have got sort of an adult head on their shoulders. So both of them were very equipped to play men's football. If you look at maybe lads who are maybe smaller in stature and maybe a little bit more immature from a football mindset, you might say that they're not particularly ready. If I was a 17-year-old, or if I had a 17-year-old son, I would probably say you need to try and play men's games if you can, but then it's a difficult one, like I said before, because do you send them off? They're not good enough maybe to get into a county Prem side or a Ryman South side. So do you send them off playing for Chip Shop United on a Sunday?
What level, how low do you go?
Exactly right, exactly right.
You
before they pick up what you might call bad habits. I know that's a bit of a
great point.
A phrase that some people like and some people don't, but there's a lot of bad habits to get out of certain level football, isn't there? So it's a hard one.
It is. It's a hard question that I'm asked quite often from a lot of parents, and for me it just comes down to the kid, and it's position specific as well. Obviously,
yeah, absolutely,
what position you play. But it's definitely a talking point. But moving forward to this year, this upcoming season, how do you assess the Bostik Premier League this year? We have 8 local, I don't want to call them derbies or rivalries, but 8 local fixtures with yourselves, Worthing, Burgess Hill, Lewis and Bognor region.
Yeah.
A great time to be a local follower of Sussex football. Are there some fixtures you're looking forward to more than most?
I think those 4, so we've called them like sort of in our management team, so to speak, the 8 derbies. It would be 8 for us, obviously 2 Lewis, 2 Worthing, 2 Bognor, 2 Burgess Hill. They're the ones you look forward to. They have to be, and I think there's no point in being involved in football at any level if you can't look forward to a derby game, and that's maybe where in the top end in some games where you get a huge foreign influence, they maybe don't understand those derbies.
Yeah.
But those derbies, they're sort of territorial, aren't they? Going back to making it sound a little bit more old school, but they are, and it matters to fans, and it matters to them. Likelihood is we'll probably get Lewis, Boxing Day, New Year's Day, you would guess.
Great day,
and I mean, think about the fans that you can get in, people who want to watch Boxing Day football, and you're not going to get many better games than that. And similarly, like Lewis playing Worthing this year, I mean, there'll be over 1,000 people there.
It hasn't been like this for a long time, has it?
No,
it's the most excited I've been for a non-league football season in a long time.
Absolutely, and I think the fans are probably thinking exactly the same. Like I said with Worthing and Lewis, I mean, that will get the Worthing fans travel well, don't they? The Lewis fans travel well. I mean, how much did Lewis have on the day they lifted the trophy? Something like 700-800. You know, Worthing are getting sort of between 500 and 700 every single home game. Like that, they're crazy numbers for this level. And so you put those together, I mean, that would be one hell of a game that surely, if we don't have a game on the same day, I'll certainly be there.
Good stuff. I mean, like you say, non-league football's growing in popularity. Obviously you see that, but what do you think the main reason for that is? It's something I asked Abba the other week. But do you think you can put it down to one thing? He mentioned social media and
definitely
and this, but the target audience of non-league football's changing. It's good for us. What do you put it down to?
Yeah, I'd say social media is definitely one, and like for example the job you're doing obviously as well with your replay, that makes a huge difference. Players want to see their goals back, and they haven't been able to do that for decades, have they? So that's massive. Fans who can't get to games are able to now watch it, but I would say social media is the big one, and also maybe I think Dad has said this as well. The prices of professional games. It's extortionate, isn't it? I mean, I know they've changed it now for away days, £26 a ticket in Premier League, but it's still
a pricey day out.
Well, the trains are so expensive as well, aren't they? And even the things like getting a pint, it's so expensive that why wouldn't they go and watch someone they know play centre forward? It makes sense, doesn't it? Really.
100%, mate. I mean, who can relate? Like I said, who can relate to someone on 150 grand a week? Like, it's just stupid. Really.
No, exactly right.
Just going back, just a question I thought with Ben was, obviously with your experience with the 18s, going back to the winter time, December to February, not a lot of games got played. Do you think there's anything that we can bring in or we can change to try and stop? Because at the back end of your season at 18s, did you have a huge amount of games to play in a short amount of time? And a lot of the boys were going off with their England colleges or doing other things, and it isn't really a true reflection on the season that you could have had.
Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard.
Going back to that, sorry to always go back to the 18s, but is there anything you think that we can do to try and get over that? Is it a winter break?
All weather pitches, really. I mean, you could say front load the start of the season. Yep. So the Bostik youth season's started at different dates every year since I've been doing it, and that's 5 years. And it's some weeks would have first week September. Some weeks would have 23rd of August, some years you have 23rd of August. You can't, maybe if you front load the season a little bit more, and say you've got to get X number of games played by this date, that might help. But then obviously you've got cup competitions as well, so that then changes it. You know, it's very, very difficult, and now I'm sort of involved with the first team. Now you start to think about the pitch, you know. So I go down to the ground and look at the pitch already. Whereas
so it's not getting torn up. And
before as an under-18s manager, I used to say, well, why can't the under-18s play?
You see the other side of it.
Exactly, and now I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, I don't know if we can, you know, what day can we have under-18s games on? And you sort of thinking, hang on a second, I'm coming away from what I believe in a little bit. So you have to have a bit of a reality check. I think more all-weather pitches and the league being willing to let teams play on other all-weather pitches, if you know it's been a certain amount of time since the game was called off.
Is that a rule at the moment then?
They've got to play the ground, so they've got to play the ground unless they get special dispensation. But always want to play the ground. That's the other difficulty, isn't it?
It's an advantage.
And also all the all-weather pitches booked out all across winter, aren't they? Because there's not really many of them. So more of those across the county, I think, is essential, and across England really.
I agree, Jude. Let's go back to your current full-time job. You're working here at the Met College in Brighton. Can you explain to us a little bit about your role here and how you juggle both Whitehawk job and this job and the programme you offer here?
Yeah, so it's obviously a little bit, it's going to be a little bit difficult come the start of the season, but it's no different really to what other managers have got in this league with full-time work. Yep. So I'm certainly not getting a violin out by any stretch of the imagination. But I'm a sports lecturer here, so we're trying to move away from, I think, you know, a lot of, I know Dad was talking about different courses at his college and stuff like that, and you spoke about football programmes, and that's something that the college used to run here with a BTEC programme, and we're moving away from the BTEC and sort of going quite career focused now. So it's a coaching pathway for young students, and then also a fitness pathway as well, so they can become a personal trainer, so to speak, or work in the fitness industry, and then hopefully work in the coaching industry as well. We want to try and make it more employment based. So
I think it's a good move, to be honest.
Yeah, and then obviously with coaching experience that I've got, and then the fitness experience of the other people in the department, hopefully that'll be better for the students, like sort of all round really.
Do the students get a time or a period within their course where they go out into the real world and get some work experience?
That'd be the aim, yeah. So getting work experience is I think it's the main port call, isn't it? I think if probably people our age were coming out of college and had any work experience in the fields we wanted to go into, really, yeah. So that's the aim, really.
Brilliant. And obviously, in sync with that, you've had a lengthy time at Suffolk Schools with the rep side there, with the 18s.
Yeah, 4 seasons with the 18s. Yeah.
Loads of success, bringing loads of players through, and I'm sure that a lot of the boys will be watching this will say that you had a huge part in their progression as players, not just on the field but off the field as well. Do you still have your role at Suffolk Schools?
No, unfortunately, I just don't think it's one of those. It's a job you need to make sure that you commit to fully. Yeah. And that was one I was going to carry on, even though I was stepping away from Whitehawk under 18s. I was going to carry on with Sussex, but you need to be able to dedicate yourself fully to the role, and obviously I'm not going to be able to do what the Whitehawk first team job and give it the attention it needs, and then also give Sussex the attention it needs as well. It wouldn't be fair on the boys in the Sussex programme. I think I'm sort of personally values rep football quite highly, and you can't give them the quality they need if your mind's on something else. You know, if I've got a fixture on a Friday at Suffolk Schools, am I going to be thinking about the game on the next day? And if so, it's not fair on those boys. So Dave Ambdorf's going to continue.
Great coach.
Yeah, brilliant coach, and we've done it the last 2 seasons. Now he's taken the sole manager's role. Yeah, sure. with a new assistant. Oh, do you know who his new assistant is yet, or is he still deciding? Or is that a bit of an exclusive? No, not sure. It's past. I think he's got a couple of assistants lined up, so quality. I'll let him tell you when he does his interview. Yeah, we'll have to get him on Dave. We'll have to have Dave on this. So just touching on that again, do you think there's an issue with some players maybe playing too much football? Like you'll always hear that rest is so important, and players maybe playing too much with all the 18s teams, and then sign up for a men's team on a Saturday, and then with your Sussex Schools, Sussex FA football, rep team football, and then maybe playing on a Sunday, like the boys play their Sunday team. Like that's a lot of football. Do you think that's something that needs to be addressed? And plus their schools and colleges. Yeah. Plus, you know, on a Wednesday afternoon, like some of them, it is bonkers. It is absolutely mad. And is that detrimental to their progression? For some of them, definitely. There's others that you think, do you know what, he could probably play 6 games a week and it wouldn't affect him. Like some kids are like machines, but it does catch up with them, definitely. And I think it's more about the difficulty you can get is they get a lot of pressure from some coaches to play in certain games, and I think that can be where the problem lies, that they feel they've got to please everyone, and they don't feel comfortable enough to say, do you know what, I haven't got it in me anymore. And so we were very lucky. I was very lucky at Whitehall with regards to the boards we had. We had a lot of representative players. So if one said, do you know what, I'm shattered, it didn't really matter as much, because you could just go, well, do you know what, if Alfie Rogers is shattered because he's played 7 games in 7 days, well, I'll just play James Waters. So it does. So I recognised that I was in a ridiculous position there, like, it's crazy. So it's more where, if Alfie's playing for a team, and Alfie, for example, we're using him as an example, if he's playing for a team where he's the main man and he's the only rep player, and then they've got a game on the Monday night, but he's played Saturday for Horsham or Hampstead, he's played Sunday for Sussex FA, and then he's got a Monday evening game. I mean, it's a lot of football.
As a coach in your previous role, would you sometimes realise and recognise how much players have been playing throughout the week or weeks prior to the game, and identify that, and then sort of put them aside and say, I think you should have a little rest tonight? Do you have any examples of that?
Yeah, so organisation was the key for us. That was a massive one. I think Alfie didn't start our first 2 FA Youth Cup games this year because they were both on a Wednesday, and he played for Horsham or Hampstead the night before. We were like, you're not playing, which obviously he wasn't very happy about. But
it's in the long term.
Yeah,
you could have picked up a knock there, and that would have been
I think he missed the Worthing game and maybe Corinthian Casuals. I think he was on the bench for both of those, and he wants to play every game, doesn't he? And so you do have to. That's where you've got to be a little bit stronger, and you've got to go, well, actually, I'm not going to let you play, like, or you're on the bench or whatever. And they never see it.
No, of course.
Players never ever see it on the night or on the day, but they always, you probably pull
bigger picture.
Any one of those Whitehall boys now, I imagine 99% of them would go, do you know what, it probably was the right decision. And then there'll be someone still say it probably was.
I wanted to play.
Yeah, exactly right.
So, staying with the youngsters, do you think the mentality of the young players changed over the years with their attitude towards turning up and playing and turning up to training? Since you've stopped playing, or when you started playing, do you think a mentality shift has?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think there has, certainly formation-wise or position-wise. We were talking before about what is a CDM, what is a cam, like
FIFA roles.
Yeah, exactly. FIFA makes a difference. It really does, because the boys are playing all the time. So I think formation-wise, certainly with regards to boys thinking they only play one position. And
really?
We tried to. I was very lucky. I got the opportunity to go for a meeting at a pro club, and I spoke to one of the scouts there, and he said, what we try and do is we try and make sure that the boys have at least 2 positions, but if not 3 positions. And that was quite an eye-opener to me, and something that I was like, wow, that's brilliant, because boys need to be adaptable. You go to the men's game and you're saying, well, I only play cam, and he's saying, well, I play 4-4-2. Well, what are you going to do? You just sit on the bench until he plays 5 in the field, don't you? You can't do anything. So that's the shift that I've seen, certainly, or a lot of boys saying that they play like if you use numbers, like a number 4, and a lot of them don't actually play that position very well. What they actually want is an extra 2 touches on the ball and then zing it 70 yards so they can look $1 million, not actually doing what the role requires. And that they're very few and far between, I must stress that, but there's certainly a lot more of them, and I don't know if other youth coaches might agree with me or disagree with me, but certainly a lot more of those sort of players coming through, or players saying they've got, under 18s boys saying they've got a knock and stuff, and you're like, I don't think you probably have, but you can't,
you can't dress up like that. You think that, you think the boys are getting softer? That's what I'm trying to say, without sounding rude and trying to offend anyone. Are youngsters getting softer?
Do you know what? I think that's such a hard question, isn't it? Maybe not softer, less boys, and I can't obviously speak for the girls' game because I haven't worked in the girls' game, so you'd have to ask one of the female coaches, or coaching the female game, about that. But less boys are willing to work harder to achieve what they need to achieve than they used to be.
Okay.
That was what I would say, definitely, and I think that probably comes from the society we're in. Everything's instant.
It's not their fault.
I don't think it is their fault. I completely agree. I don't think it is their fault at all. We live in an instant society. Everything you want straight off the bat, you get whatever you want straight away.
Yeah.
And so when they don't get that, they're a bit, definitely, they're a bit like, well, hang on a sec. And it's like, well, no, hang on, you've got to work on that. You're 16. You've got to go away and you've got to learn to play this position, or you've got to learn to play this formation. You've got to learn that you might not be very good at X, Y, Z straight away. Work at it, you'll get there. Don't worry, it takes time. And I think that's probably something that has not disappeared, because there are still a lot of boys that work very, very, very hard.
Across the board, maybe.
I think across the board, I think in schools, colleges, I think in football, dance, whatever it is, I don't think it makes a great deal of difference. I think a lot, and I don't think it is a lot of their fault. I think it is this sort of like an instant society, but yeah, certainly less boys, from my experience, are willing to work as hard to get where they need to be. No, I would say that is.
And that isn't a dig for anyone that's listening, I'm sure.
No, absolutely
I know
not.
that isn't a dig, it's just society and our times change.
Yeah, certainly. And like I said, we were very fortunate with the mindset of a lot of players we had, which was almost the opposite. And I suppose you've got to put that down to anything really. Good teaching, good parenting. No, it could be anything really.
Makes complete sense. You know, coming back to a little bit about yourself, you've completed or you're currently working towards your UEFA B qualification.
Yeah, no, working towards it.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Can you explain what the course was like? You know, what did you take away from it? Was there anyone else on your course at the same time with you?
Yeah, Dave Altendorf, who obviously we've already mentioned, he was on the course. Charlotte Young as well, and Cam Morrison from Worthing FC was on it as well. So lots of good coaches, lots of good young coaches, some older coaches as well who are very, very good and very strong. They've rewritten it now, the FA, so it's slightly different to what it used to be, with one final assessment at the end. It's sort of in situ visits, and as far as I can tell from people who've done it before me, I obviously wasn't privy to those other courses, but as far as I can tell, it's more supportive based rather than assessment based.
Okay.
And I felt that certainly my tutor Chris Jones, Mark Lee, who was also one of the tutors on the course, is very supportive in terms of the way that they want you to be as a coach, and a lot of it was to do with session planning and how I set up the sessions, and that's changed a lot certainly now.
When you're on, for you personally, is it, you know, you UEFA B and you're happy there, or is it, you know, you're going to then look towards do your A, or is there going to be a period of time in between? Do you see much value in getting your
A definitely, yeah, definitely. I think we were saying before, like, what's the key, and it changes for everyone. But the badges are useful. I must stress that they really are. You'll probably get people who will say, nah, just the experience is the key. That's the way you got to do it. But you've got to set yourself up for when you get that experience. I'm lucky enough to be in a position where I'm hopefully going to get experience this year, and having that UEFA B is going to be helpful if I pass it. So having that will be massively helpful when I'm trying to get more experience. Whether I'll get the A or not, I don't know. We'll see, I suppose. Time will tell. How much time will I have?
Sure.
So I'm not sure.
Obviously, you know, 30 years old now, experienced coach, coming to that stage where you're ready for men's football. What would your advice be to a 17-year-old who's coming out of the game and really thinking about getting involved with coaching? I know Cam's a little bit older, but Cam's a young coach who's obviously on the same path as you, and I'm sure that he'll get his chance very soon to lead the team. But, you know, go and get your badges done as quick as possible, or just jump in and see if it's for you, learn your trade. If you could give advice, you know, a single bit of advice for someone, what route would you tell them to go?
Having done my UEFA B this year, I'd say that I wish I'd done it sooner, just because life takes over and you're like, oh my god.
Get it done while you're young.
Yeah, so that would be certainly one thing, but you don't know everything. That's the key. You've always got to learn. If you're not willing to learn at any age, like even if you're 60 now and you think I've been there, I've done it, you don't know.
Game changes.
Everything. Whether you're 17 and you've done a season at under 15s football, to whether you're 30, you've done 5 seasons at under 18s. Like, I could take an under 18s team next year and could lose every game of the season. Like, you don't know. Like, everything changes with every situation, and that is, you're constantly willing to learn from every chat you have with a player to every chat you have with someone more senior than you who's been there, who's done it. You've got to be constantly willing. You've got to be like a sponge, and that's the way I sort of feel at the moment. You've got to be, everything that anyone says to you, you've got to constantly take it on board and go, right, how can that affect me? And sort of turn it on yourself and go, right, constantly, how can I do that? How can I change and improve?
So I think we've been speaking for a while now, so it's just to wrap it up, I'm going to put you a bit on the spot here. White Hawk, your best White Hawk under 18 11 over 5 years you were there.
Are you going to give me the formation?
You're free to play whatever formation you want to play. But I know there's some big names in there, and there'll be some people watching this thinking, I've got to be in that 11.
Yeah, there'll be few, won't they? So I'll tell you what, you can pick a few that you can go straight away.
You don't have to stick to an 11, you can maybe go to an 11 plus 3 subs or something.
So Robbie Keefe would have to be a centre half, 100%. Luke Emerson, oh God. Do you know what?
Are they your 2 centre halves there?
No, I would play Harry Schumann centre half with Robbie Keefe. Are they playing under 18s football?
Under 18s football.
It's going to be more and more questions. We're going to do this. This is going to be longer than the actual interview. Lewis Broughton left back, Finton Walsh right back. Anise would have to be in there somewhere. He does what he wants anyway. So
you'd have him.
I'll just stick him on, just give him a shirt and tell him to go out and play. Alfred Rogers, Joel Daly. Have I said a keeper? I haven't.
No.
Jordan Hawkins. James Waters, I think it'd have to be in there. Rob Deeder, is that 11? I think
it's up there. I think you might have one.
I think that's 11, isn't it? Is that 4-4-2? Anisu, Luke Emerson. Oh, I've left out Billy Barker.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'll give you 14 players.
Yeah,
they can choose who starts.
That's fair.
Billy Barker will go in. And who else must I say? Oh, God, 5 players. I think we used something like, I was looking through it the other day, I think we used 76 players in 5 years.
Incredible.
So, I don't...
It's hard to just...
That's it, you struggle, don't you? Like,
I think that's
like George Coulthard Rules, he'll kill me if I don't
There
say
you
him.
go.
So yeah, he'd have to be in there as well.
You look at that squad and you think that team there could probably compete at a decent level.
Yeah,
of football.
they're good players to be fair. Rob Leela, I think that gets me to 14.
There you
I
go.
think. I'll definitely let
We'll have a look back.
I'll definitely let people off, they'll kill me.
Anyway, Jude, thank you so much for taking time out of your day. I know you're a busy guy.
No,
And
thank you very much.
wish you all the best this year, mate.
Cheers.
We'll catch up in the season.
Brilliant.
Cheers, mate.